We're going to start with tight end. A lot of great tight ends this year, Matthew, but I think everybody starts looking at the top of, do I got to get one in tier one?
Yeah.
Like feeling the need of the Brock Bowers and George Kittles and Trey McBride.
Yeah, I feel like tight end is one of those positions of all of them in fantasy that before you even start talking about players, you really need to talk about how you approach the position. Right. You know you're always going to get your running backs and your wide receivers. So I feel like quarterback and tight end are the two where you sort of sit there and go like, all right, am I attacking this early? Can I wait? Is there some value in the middle rounds? Where am I going? And I think this year, specifically around tight end, I either want one of the elite ones. You've heard me say this before, but I think it's truer this year than ever before. I want one of the elite ones. I want to be one of the first guys in my league to draft a tight end, or I want to be one of the last. So I really like Bowers, McBride, Kittle at the top of the draft, and we'll talk about them in a second. But if I don't get one of these three guys, then as I've been doing a ton of drafts, I've been waiting and waiting. Like I don't have a lot of the Laporta, Hawkinson, Kelce's of the world, sort of those middle tier guys. Because I don't think once you get to tight end 4, I don't think there's a massive difference between like tight end 4 and tight end 9 or 10, right? I'm much, we'll get into this, but I'd much prefer like a Njoku, a Tyler Warren, even an Evan Ingram that you can get much later. I think there's not a significant difference between those guys and then what like the Hawkinson, Laportas of the world are going to do.
Also, as we showed up there, and I'd like to see that again, Brock Bowers with an ADP that's within the top 20. I mean, Matthew, that's we love Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is amazing. But the way he is priced, it feels like he has to be extraordinary to match that cost of the position because they're passing up so many elite wide receivers and running backs.
Correct. You're basically taking Bowers a round or two ahead of McBride or Kittle. And the argument for that is that you feel really confident that he finishes the year as the number 1 tight end and significantly better, at least a round or two of value better, than McBride or Kittle. And I don't think that's true at all. I think there's a very real chance that either Trey McBride or George Kittle is the number 1 tight end in fantasy this year. I find myself with a ton of Kittle this year. I have very little Bowers because the value is so much better. Like I think there's a real scenario where, and we'll get into this, but like Trey McBride was the number 2 tight end in fantasy last year, scoring 1 touchdown. Like that's going to be impossible to, positive touchdown regression is coming for McBride, I think, in a massive way. We've talked about Kittle, 20 touchdowns in the 34 games that he's played with Brock Purdy. As we sit here today, it's Ricky Pearsall and Sky Moore. Who's running routes for these guys? I mean, the 49ers have said they expect Juwan Jennings to be out there week 1. We'll see if he actually is and what kind of shape he is in. He's missed a lot of camp. Kittle, to me, is going to be a massive part of this passing attack.
Yeah, there's also talk about Juwan Jennings maybe going on IR if this doesn't get resolved soon, which is just like there's no.
It's
there's
so
a
weird.
Huge,
it's
like
very cloudy.
He could play week 1. We might not see him until week 5. I got no idea what's going on with Juwan.
Luckily,
Jennings.
the 49ers are super transparent about their injuries and player timelines for returning. I'm sure whatever they say, whatever Kyle says, we can take to the bank.
On George Kittle, I'm with you where I find that in drafts, I go in thinking I like some of these guys later on, like Tucker Kraft and Don Kincaid and stuff. So I go in thinking that I'm not going to pay for any of these tight ends. And then it's like pick 50 and it's like George Kittle or Chuba Hubbard. It's like, he's just sitting there because no one loves taking George Kittle because everyone's had George Kittle on their team before. They're not enamored of him. And so I think there's a bit of an inefficiency there. Connor, on Brock Bowers, I think the concern is that these previous superstar tight end ones, there's been a lot of certainty about their role where, Travis Kelce for years, it's like, all right, well, Travis Kelce's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He's still playing with Patrick Mahomes. It's still Andy Reid. Know exactly what he's going to do. With Brock Bowers, it's a new coach. It's a new offensive coordinator. It's a new quarterback. They have a new superstar running back. There's just a lot of variance for a guy who's going number 1 at the position.
And by the way, doesn't have a long track record of success. Now, again, he was amazing in college. He had a great rookie year. So we're not doubting his talent. I think barring injury, he's going to finish the year as a top 4 fantasy tight end. But how confident are we that he definitely is better than McBride or Kittle? And the answer is I don't think we're super confident about that, especially given the fact that you have to draft him, in some cases 2 rounds ahead of George Kittle.
The cost is too expensive. And you love that he's the number 1 wide receiver in his offense where he's getting an upgrade at quarterback in Geno Smith, and the Raiders will be more competitive this year, which probably improves his opportunity. But say I'm picking 19th or 20th, and Brock Bowers is there where he's going, I could just draft a number 1 wide receiver on another offense as well, or a number 1 running back. So love Brock Bowers. Think he's going to be awesome this year. but I just don't know if I'm ready to pay that kind of cost.
Yeah, I mean, third most catches ever by a tight end in a single season.
He's
as his rookie
incredible.
with, like, Garden Minshew.
I want to find the next version of him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to pay the price for what Brock Bowers did last year.
Right.
We're going to get into Tyler Warren and those kinds of players. I want to find the next version of, maybe not Brock Bowers, but 75-80% of him.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is DraftKings has his season props over under. His median outcome is 1,000 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Like, that's just the reality. Like, last year he was just shy of 1,200 receiving yards. He only had the 5 receiving touchdowns. There's scope for that to go up clearly, but I wouldn't go in expecting that Brock Bowers is going to take another leap as the median outcome would just be like 1,300 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's not much, like, could you, when the years in, like, where Travis Kelce was a first-round pick, like in the middle of the first round, he was just so significantly better than everyone else. And, like, again, as great as Bowers is, and if Bowers gets to 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, certainly within the range of possibilities, then maybe he gets there depending on what else McBride and Kittle does. But you're looking about Trey McBride, who had a 29% target share last year. He was a top 10 tight end in 12, 16 weeks. And again, doing that with scoring like basically 2 touchdowns all year. We expect that equity to come up. Kittle had no player had more games with 15 or more fantasy points last year than George Kittle. But I think the other thing that's important here is we just sort of talk about the tiers. Kittle is my tight end 3. Laporta is my tight end 4. I have them over 30 spots apart in my overall ranking. So just in terms of, like, whether it is Bowers, McBride, or Kittle, I think that group is significantly better than the next group, which starts with Sam Laporta. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.